we have euphemisms about love, like you fall into love. And this is why so many people are falling out of love so easily, because love is not a puddle of mud. You don't just fall into it. Love is a virtue. It's not just a feeling. And I can't help but wonder, as we move further and further away from reality and further away from Christian truth, if we will find it harder and harder to actually describe what love is. I know this: we are self-defining things more and more. Maybe that's why Wikipedia even exists, but certainly that's the case in our top story today as we look at two Good Morning America personalities who have been reportedly having an ongoing affair. And so Yahoo News reports that Amy Robach and T.G. Holmes prove they are very much together in new PDA photos after being taken off GMA. Now, in all fairness, I have no idea who these people are and do not watch Good Morning America on purpose. But supposedly, these two people are married and just released photos of them participating in public displays of affection with each other, as ongoing rumors have been circulating about an affair that's been going on for some time. Now, these two have not been on air since December 5th because of their inappropriate conduct with each other. So just to show that our society is not totally decayed, there is some morals to society and to certain corporations who would remove these two people who are having inappropriate workplace relationships. But I think it won't be too long before this is just kind of the norm. As we continue to dilute marriage more and more, we'll find that marriage actually doesn't mean anything. So what does it matter if you're cheating on your spouse? Marriage is just a feeling, just like love is, I suppose. But the story goes on and it says this. Robach, 49, and Holmes, 45, were photographed by paparazzi while eating at the Capitol Grill and strolling together arm in arm. The Daily Mail published the photos on December 15th, just a little over 1 week since the GMA 3, What You Need to Know, stars began their on-screen hiatus. And I'll throw up the screenshot of these photos for you now. So Robach has been married to Andrew Shue since 2010, and in 2022, they just announced their separation, so they are still presently married, but just separated from each other. Holmes, meanwhile, is married to attorney Marielle Feibig, who he tied the knot with in 2010 as well. Godwin went on in her recent statement addressing Robach and Holmes' controversial alleged workplace romance. I understand that the continuing coverage can be distracting from the incredibly important work our team does here at ABC News. Whatever you say. Now, both of these couples have been married for 12 years and they have kids, and you might think to yourself that they have an obligation to protect their families and protect their children and stay committed to their marriages for maybe even the sake of their kids. But of course, the story that's going to come out of this is a torrid romance about two people who just happen to fall in love regardless of the fact that they were married. And now, that only leaves us with one question, well, perhaps many, but one of them among them is this. If love is love, then aren't they right? Can't they leave their families, leave their kids, and go chase each other until they find the next person that they think they're in love with and say, well, I decided to leave my partner, and because love is love, I will consistently do this every single 5 years. Well, the point here is this, is that to the delusional progressive, love is love. But to the rest of us living in the real world outside of outer space, love is commitment, love is responsibility, love is monogamy, love is realizing that people grow and that you need to grow and that we all need to grow. Love, sure, does not put up with abuse. And that can be physical as well as mental. But this idea that the luster has gone, or that we just fell out of love, or that we no longer feel the same way that we used to, is the stuff of fairy tale legends and, of course, the stuff of complete immaturity. Now, it is also the stuff of delusional leftism. Because this is the point I'm trying to make throughout the rest of our stories that we'll see today, is just this, is that if you do not have a common sense, definite definition of words and ideas and virtues, then of course they can mean whatever you want them to mean. That seems to be what the progressive left is all about today anyway, is that they want to destroy everything they can put their hands on, including marriage. But even if I'm wrong about that very obvious conspiracy theory, the reality is we all know that if you refuse to define a word, it can become anything that you want it to be. And marriage is certainly one of those words that we're toying around with right now, and eventually we'll figure out why we shouldn't have in the first place. This has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a Christian and homosexuality is something that is forbidden in the Bible, and that I don't believe personally homosexuals should be married. It has to do with the fact that words have meaning. They mean something. And you can't consistently go around destroying words and expecting there to be no consequences. I would say this is true for those of us in Christian communities, and for those watching who are not in those communities. I can only hope you get this. But for the longest time, we've battled in Christian churches with whether or not we should use words like repentance and sinner and those kind of things, and whether or not those push people away. So let's just reestablish the language, and let's re-educate ourselves to not use those Bible words, but use more modern vernacular. So instead of sinner, we'll just use somebody who has maybe lost their way, or somebody that has low self-esteem. And all of that is to absolutely change not only the definition of sinner, but to try to attempt to change reality. And we do so at our own peril. And we'll see this is not only true of marriage, but also violence. Because perhaps people who talk about violence are more interested in one-sided definitions for their own agenda's sake, more so than they are because they actually are concerned about violence. Because just recently, there was a subcommittee being held about white supremacy and violence. And some of the experts on the panel had some interesting things to say, one in particular. Now, before I get to the clip, I have to go towards this kind of appeal to expertise and the logical fallacy that is, because it's really clear that the word expert absolutely means nothing anymore in society today. Part of our kind of loosening of actual real definitions and no longer having standards and morals and anything which we can look to derive true, authentic moral values from as a society, as we kind of push aside religion and push aside the Bible as antiquated. We're finding that we're cutting off our nose to spite our face a little bit. And so you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely need to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.